Oh hi, welcome back to Car Juice. Today I'm going to be giving you guys the squeeze on the 2020 Tesla Model 3 Performance. So let me just say here, so I don't want to lose my job or anything. As you guys can see, I got the BMW roundel here on my chest. I bleed blue and I don't play around. So why the heck then am I making a video on BMW's current biggest rival? I mean, this thing is a 455 horsepower car for $30,000. That is why. That is exactly why. That still has time left on the warranty. These have a 4-year, 50,000 mile powertrain warranty. This thing is coming up on the end of that, but it only has 24,000 miles, plus it's an EV. So other than catching on fire, you're not missing out on really too much. So what is the Model 3 Performance? What are the other competitors? What are the other options outside of the Model 3? Let's just go ahead and get into this right here. So this car is a 455 horsepower, 320 mile range Tesla Model 3 Performance all-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive and performance models have the additional horsepower. There's also other trim levels for this as well. However, this one, being the Performance, has a 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds, 255-inch tires on the front with 20-inch rims on it, and then in the rear, you're also rocking Michelin Pilot Sports on all four corners. And then in the rear, you are rocking 235s. So it's probably 235s on the front, and I just read that wrong. But yeah, not too shabby as far as tires and things go. The Michelin Pilot Sports corner and handle very well. Coming around to the back of this car, you do have a really nice carbon fiber matte spoiler here in the back. And you know, with this being a dual motor, it is going to be all-wheel drive. You've got one motor in the rear and then one motor in the front. And this being a Tesla, it has some really good safety performance, and also it has their patented autopilot. I will say, as a BMW client advisor, BMWs are known for making really good cars. We make great cars. Tesla's autopilot, I'll say it here first and foremost, is much better than what we have to offer. It is insane. The auto park is better. You just select any spot that you want and it'll just do it. Plus, they also are rocking 4K cameras on all four corners of this car, which just makes it really hard to compete with something like this. However, that's not to say that there is all just good things to be said about Tesla. There are bad things to be said about it as too. First and foremost, the fitment of this front bumper. Look at the body lines on this thing. It is coated in PPF, and that is one nice thing about picking up a $30,000 used 455 horsepower Tesla instead of going and buying a Honda Accord with 10,000 miles that's only a year old instead. You get all of the little things that the previous owner has done to it. The entire front of this car has been PPF'd, and then I wanted to show you guys this too. Whenever you buy a used car versus a new one, you also get the other things that they bought with it. Like, for example, Teslas don't come with floor mats, and this one has these amazing WeatherTechs, and that would run you about 300 bucks. So I'm not here to tell you that a Model 3 Performance is what everyone should buy, but I'm making this video because I want people to know that these deals are out there now. Hertz is liquidating their entire Tesla fleet, and these cars are going just down in value precipitously. It was a $55,000 car new, and now it's for sale at BMW Cincinnati North for about 29 grand. It also does come with the charger here in the trunk. And the other nice thing too about going with a Tesla is that you have the benefit of all of the Tesla things. Being the Tesla charging network, it is the biggest charging network, and everybody wants a piece of that action. And then with the Model 3 Performance, you do get a 60/40 rear split for the cabin, and in the back seat, I probably have about 2 inches of legroom with someone who's probably about 6'4" driving or riding in the passenger seat, and then with a 5'8" person, I've probably got about 3 or 4 inches or so of legroom. Other used car models that this might compare to are like a BMW 3 Series, like a 330i. So you'd be comparing a 255 horsepower BMW 330i that would be right in the same range. However, that car is going to come with a lot more warranty than this does, and it's going to have a lot less power. So it's just different. If you're somebody who's like driving a lot, like if you're a realtor, this is a bad car for you. But if you're a dad that only works 12 miles from his office and he drives back and forth each way to work, this is a perfect car for you. You can decrease your fuel expenses by about a third Even just switching from that 30 miles per gallon or so that you get with your older Lexus and switch into an 84 mile per gallon real world tested, or as Tesla claims 110 mile MPGe. So you factor in also the decreased fuel expenses, you're probably going to turn your bill into about a tenth of what it would be. Inside of the Model 3, you do have some nice features, such as this beautiful kind of like fake Alcantara here. The top of the door card feels very cheap, like fake foam. And then the previous owner also installed a radar detector inside of the car. So that's kind of cool too. Fit and finish isn't too bad as far as like the wood and everything like that in here goes. The dashboard is soft touch, but it is this fake rubberized coating. And then you have a cool glass roof that goes front and back. Neither of it opens, which, as you guys know, if you watched the X2 video, I don't really appreciate that very much. You don't have a traditional key card. You have a NFC-based chip where you just put it next to the center here, and that is how you start the car and let it drive. So you probably will be using your phone most of the time for your key, as this is very inconvenient because you have to be up on the car in order to start doing things. And then with this being an EV, you also have the ability to have the AC kind of just automatically start cooling the car down for you. You also have the Sentry mode where you can watch what's going on around the car. And this has the full autopilot as well, so you can monitor and use the autopilot. If you guys aren't aware with what autopilot is, it is the best version of radar cruise control, basically currently out on the market. Uses some LiDAR, some crazy Tesla stuff. And then this car is also going to be equipped with the NACS style charger, which is probably in the next 2 to 3 years going to be prolific throughout the marketplace. I could see, especially since Mercedes and BMW is going the same route as Tesla and using all of their plugs, that you shouldn't have any kind of worry as far as this goes. The only thing that I would be personally worried about that I want to mention before we take this thing out on a spin is further depreciation. EVs are untested, but with this car already going down in value about 40%, you are probably fine to go ahead and plan on sticking with this. However, as better and better battery technology comes out, this 320 mile range, currently reading at about 250 due to the temperature of the temperature outside, that could precipitously further drop your value. So this car could go lower than what we've seen in older EVs and those sort of things, but on the older Model S's, those seem like they're kind of tapering off as far as depreciation goes. However, they are much cheaper than what they once were. This car will probably stop at maybe 15,000, 12,000 miles within a couple of years, but I don't know. That's the one thing I do want to mention as well before we start kind of driving and all that stuff. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and mount you guys up on the window, and we'll take this thing out for a quick spin. All right, so in the driver's seat of the Tesla Model 3 Performance, you are greeted by a pretty okay cabin. I'd say I'd give it a 7 out of 10 off of initial, kind of like my initial opinions and those sort of things. Just comparing against probably like a 3 Series, the seat material isn't quite as comfortable, which I'm sure if you guys are trolling around on the internet, you've probably already heard this comparison a couple of different times. I do really like the steering input. I'm currently driving in the chill mode, which to Tesla enthusiasts, that basically means that this thing isn't going to accelerate too crazily. I feel like it probably limits itself to probably right around 280 horsepower is about what it feels like, judging off the line, and then it doesn't just like launch you back inside of the seat. The regenerative braking is okay. I wish it was honestly a little bit more aggressive on the back end of kind of the deceleration zone. It can be a little bit, I wish that it would recognize a stop sign. Like in an i4, the car will recognize a stop sign if you option it with the adaptive cruise control, and it will ensure that you drop and you pretty much stop at the stop sign, regardless of if you're actually using the active cruise or anything like that. So that's a little bit different. I like how large the variety is in the acceleration profile with the car. Like you can unlock that full 455 horsepower relatively easily, just by throwing it over into the sport acceleration profile. and it is so quick. This thing is actually faster than what the Model S P100D was back in 2020, which is kind of cool. And then I would also like to comment on the steering. Like, the steering wheel is good. It is grossly oversimplified, which is like everyone complains about that with Tesla, so they just are never going to listen. They do things how they're going to do them, and a Tesla is going to drive like a Tesla. It is what it is. But it is cool. I like how easy it is to use the screen to adjust where the steering wheel is. I don't like that there's no physical buttons in regards to the mirrors, however. That is very annoying. Like, there should just be buttons for the mirrors. That's not overcomplicating the interior. There's this weird random pulley that I can just grab over on the side of the car that will, like, that does something. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like it feels like something is gonna break if I touch it, and I keep grabbing it, it doesn't do anything. I like how the door handles work. It's just an electronic little door handle, which is kind of nice, and it does exactly what you need it to do. And it feels kind of cool. I don't like the grab handles on the outside of the door, however. They're just like these little, like, coat hangers is what it feels like, where you're just grabbing on this tiny little piece of, like, chintzy metal. I would have rather had seen it be more like a McLaren, where it's like a 2-finger with like a grab handle and you can just pull out against the door. And that would just feel a lot more premium, and it would fit with the car. As far as safety settings, this car, I mentioned it earlier, the autopilot, the auto park, they are tremendous. This car does a great job of realizing whenever there's a vehicle in front of me that's driving and decelerating very quickly. It will then throw in the adaptive braking about as exactly as I would like it to for the stop signs and those sort of things. So I know that it can do it, it just chooses not to. The sport acceleration feels fun, but it's drives like a Tesla. It doesn't feel like it's extremely engaging. Cornering performance with this thing thrown into sport mode is quite nice. It weights up the steering wheel, and it's very easy to find the middle point. And with these batteries along the center of the drivetrain of the vehicle, it does a very good job at staying planted in the corners and everything like that too. Regenerative braking, we mentioned that was pretty good. The fact that this thing doesn't have blind spot monitors, like the little triangles on the windows, is the most frustrating, dangerous thing ever. It does, look here in the bottom left, whenever I'm using my turn signal, it does have like a little picture that shows up as I'm changing lanes, which is nice, but that requires me to take my eyes off of the direct road, and it just feels unsafe. It feels bad. So that's not great. Inside of the cabin, other things that I wanted to comment on, you have a cavernous kind of center console there, because there's no transmission tunnel in this car. You can store pretty much whatever you want in that little tray. Okay, we'll have to fix that. So yeah. All right, that's that. Okay, I'm not gonna mess with that while I'm driving. But the center console is just completely just not knowing what it's wanting to do. That was kind of wild. But yeah, so I mean, you've got a huge cavernous tray for you to put random junk and crap like that in. The cup holders look and feel a little bit cheap, and then there's just tons of black high gloss plastic inside of the car, which we all know is going to scratch. So the interior material quality is probably a 6 out of 10. Performance and handling, I would give it an 8 out of 10. It handles 7 or an 8 out of 10. It handles like an electric car. The power feels great and the steering feels good, but it's an electric car at the end of the day, and it just doesn't have the same feedback as something with, say, a manual transmission. And an inline 6, it is what it is. Storage and cargo capacity goes, it's pretty good with that. I'd say that it's probably it's standard for the class, so that would get probably a 7 out of 10 as well. So overall, it's not a bad car. If you, again, like I was saying earlier, if you're somebody that drives and has a very short commute and plans to hold on to their cars for a while and is maybe married to someone or lives with someone who has access to a gas vehicle, then this is probably a great vehicle to add to your family fleet. If this is going to be your only car and you live in an area without much access to charging, such as Ohio and like you're just not going to be equipped with it, you may have second thoughts, because as you want to take road trips or things like that, you're going to feel a little bit more pressed. The tech is great. It's very Tesla. Tesla does Tesla things. And then the range is a little bit disappointing, as the EPA stated range is 320 miles, but it's a 90-degree day out. Heat is bad, and the car is saying it's only probably going to get 255 miles on a full charge, which is just not that great. So last thing that I want to add is it doesn't have Apple CarPlay, SiriusXM, or Android Auto. It is just Bluetooth and just FM radio, because AM radio makes bad static sounds with EVs make bad static sounds with AM radio, and it's a whole big thing. But yeah, so overall, I really liked the Teslas, especially now that they're at a price that I feel like it's worth it. These things aren't true electric vehicles, and not true luxury vehicles. Have your local state guidelines as far as EV tax credits and those sort of things go. This car is slightly too expensive. The EV credit applies for vehicles under 25K and is a credit of up to $3,000 back on your taxes at the end of the year, or $4,000 back at the end of your taxes. Consult your tax professional. There's a lot of good things to be had with these cars in this depreciated marketplace, and just, yeah, look into the EVs while they're cheap. But thank you guys for watching today's video. If you guys learned something and would like to see videos on different vehicles that I produce in the future, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and also leaving a like on the video. It helps out a lot, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Deuces.